Hello, everybody. Welcome to Michelle's Inspiration Hour. I'm your host, Michelle, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. Our goal is simple to brighten your day with a dose of inspiration that'll leave you feeling motivated and uplifted. In this episode, we have a truly remarkable guest, Tracy Pleschourt. She's not just any coach, she's a solutions coach extraordinaire. Tracy is the founder of Self Made You and the host of the Secrets of Self Made podcast. Her mission is to help men and women achieve their goals and tackle life's challenges head on, all while mastering the art of self control. So get ready for an hour of enlightenment and empowerment as we dive deep into Tracy's wisdom and experience. She's here to instill confidence, ignite action, and lead us all towards maximum achievement and happiness. Stay tuned for an episode that could change your life. All right. And I am really excited to see her inspirational life story and how she got where she is today. Let's bring her on. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Michelle.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I am so excited for this. Okay, so, I was just so impressed by everything that you have done and you continue to do. So, what I really love to ask the guest first is when you were a younger child, were you like this? Were you really motivated and inspired and trying to inspire others? What kind of child were you?
Mm. I was kind of that introverted leader.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think I had a lot of confidence to really step into being the leader that I felt very compelled and pulled to be. I let a lot of self doubt kind of get in the way,
Okay.
but it's so funny when I talk with my sister. She always says, you were absolutely born to do this. You were the one that was starting all of the clubs. You would make like the initiation dues that people would have to pay at the door, whether that was a cookie or that was some, fake
Right.
ticket that I made. But
Right.
yeah, I was always trying to bring people together and really kind of start a movement. And that definitely started at a very young age. I didn't really have the platform from which to
Right.
stand on. But, I feel like the consummate cheerleader. I love, love,
Right.
love, love to inspire people. I was
Yeah.
so intrigued by your show because we are like those people who are compelled to inspire others. Like there's just there's such a pull for that. Like you don't have to ever
Mhm.
feel like it's a grind. It never feels like work. It feels like you're just so organically pulled into it. And so yeah, I feel like I was definitely put on this earth to do what I'm doing. It's just taken me a little bit of time to really kind of organize it and put it in a structure that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so interesting. I love it because when you're talking about inspiration and inspiring others, you just light up. So you're right. You're in the right business. Now, but when you were working for corporate, um, and so were you happy in that job or was it just a money making business? And what did you learn through that experience?
I was very happy in that job. Yes, I look back at those years very fondly. I recognize that I had such a unique experience to be able to work amongst really creative people. I mean, the world of advertising, you get to work amongst really interesting brands, but the people who work on those brands are some of the most creative minds. And I had the opportunity to work alongside of them. I happened to be more in an operational type capacity. So it was beautiful because I had the great, the fortune of being able to mentor people, really like provide people an environment from which they would thrive and kind of, put out the best work. And I was challenged with retaining some of the best and the brightest. So even though I didn't get to have a creative like impact on the work, it was more about, from an operational standpoint, how do I retain the talent to do the good work. And I loved it. I loved being in that environment. Um, I would say the downside was absolutely the time that I had to spend away from my family. Sacrificed a lot of time every single day, not only the commute to get to work, but they were long hours and I had big responsibilities. And so then I would come home, and even though I was physically, at home, I wasn't really mentally and emotionally present because I was so tired. Um, so 20 years of that, definitely took its toll, but that is second to the excitement, the love, and the gratitude that I have towards that experience. And it really did come to a crossroads at a certain point. I saw my kids getting ready to enter into high school, and I was in the industry long before they were ever born. And so, I had spent all of this time away from them. I see them entering into high school, which means college is, on our heels. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to be gone before I know it. And do I really want to regret any of this? And I knew I didn't. And so I made the decision right then and there, as they were going into high school, to resign my title and come work from home. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. So it was a big leap of faith. Um, but I knew there was a knowing inside of me that everything was going to work out. And literally have gotten the best of all worlds. I had this phenomenal experience within the advertising industry. I got to work amongst the creative people, but got to mentor people, which is exactly what I was put
Uh-huh.
here to do. I got to come home and experience what it's like to create a startup, company from inside my home, be more present with my kids, and send them off to college, 3, 4 years later, feeling
Wow.
like I created exactly what it was that I wanted.
Well, and good for you because, a lot of people will also, stop that because of the leap of the faith, because of things that they have learned that they should be doing,
Mhm.
because you are taking a chance. And I think that is wonderful because I do feel like our belief system stops us right in our tracks. And I found it
Absolutely.
very interesting. You said, you know what? I also stopped overeating and over drinking. So, what
Mhm.
realization brought you to that?
Yeah. Well, so I think if anybody was to ask you, okay, so what problems, what
Oh,
buffet of problems do you have going on today, right? We can all
right.
list them off.
Mhm.
And, some of them are bigger or more intense than others. But, when I was really looking at, okay, what are the problems in my life that I want to overcome? I noticed that the common denominator was that I was looking outside of me for the
Mhm.
solution to
Right.
all of them, big and small. So um, it really was the resigning from my role and coming home, like being the one that was responsible for that, like action, for that result of me coming home and actually seeing how well it was working out. I
Right.
was like, maybe I am not the common denominator to all of my problems. Maybe I'm the common denominator as the solution. Like,
Oh,
it's so interesting, but I used to look outside of myself for all of the answers. So I was overweight and I was over drinking. So I
right.
was, doling out the cash to
Right.
whichever, weight loss program was popular at the time. I was leaning heavily into wine to kind
Mhm.
of take the edge off and take the stress off. Like, I was looking for solutions outside of myself. I never once thought I could actually be the solution, that I don't have to rely on anything other than myself. Had I come to that conclusion earlier, I would have recognized that it had everything to do with my thinking and what it was that I was believing and reacting to unintentionally. But, this all roads lead to Rome. I was supposed to take this journey to come to those conclusions so that I could create a formula that's really simple for other people to utilize to overcome their challenges, to achieve their goals. And I feel like I'm a lifelong learner, but I also think I'm kind of a slow learner. So I create formulas for those kind of people who need like the step by step, very explicit instructions. I'm really good at creating that. And so
Love it.
that's what I did. I created those 4 steps for people to overcome their challenges and achieve their goals.
Hi, if you are being inspired by this episode, please share with somebody that will also be inspired. We are here to change the world. All right, let's get back to the conversation. And I absolutely love that because as an educator, we would always talk to the kids and say, okay, you need to self regulate. And we would tell them, you can figure out your own problem and your own solution to whatever is going on. Because they would react before they would think about it. And so just
Hmm.
that self regulation is so hard to teach. And you're doing
Hmm.
it now for people that really need it. And I love
Yeah.
the name of your program, Self Made You. That
Hmm.
is just
Thank you.
awesome. And then talking about the 4 steps, it's teach you how to coach yourself, teach you how to
Hmm.
eliminate self sabotage. And we'll come back and let you explain all this. And then teach you how to leverage your strengths and teach you how to forge lasting change. So, is this everything that you were seeing from everybody and yourself as well that really needed to have the strategies for?
Right. Absolutely. I think that, to your point, like as a educator, you were trying to help your students understand the importance of self-regulation,
Yes.
self-reliance,
Right.
right? I'm not sure if at that age we fully
Right.
understand what that means. And so a lot of the instruction I think sometimes is lost on young people. I think often that instruction of teaching people how to think isn't even afforded. It isn't even there. It's not part of the curriculum. So I do know that when I was in school, I was taught what to think. And then I was tested on my ability to remember it or, memorize it. And so now as an adult, I recognize being taught how to think is so much more valuable than being taught what to think. And so basically, our 4 steps, where I use the acronym of self, really thinking of yourself as the solution instead of thinking of yourself as the problem, you think of yourself as the solution. You coach yourself. It creates a better understanding of yourself. That is the answer right there, is understanding yourself all the way to creating the life that you want, overcoming any challenges, achieving any goal. So, yes, these are the 4 steps. And the 1, 2, 3, 4 can also be broken down into SELF. So, the first step, it just starts with a decision. It's it's learning how to coach yourself, asking yourself questions. You can't come up with an answer or a decision without first asking yourself a question. So it just starts with a decision. Like, what is it that I want? Why do I want it? Where am I in relationship to what it is that I want? How do I feel about that? Those are the questions that you ask yourself to make a decision from. Very simple. The second step is eliminating the self sabotage. We all have these saboteur narratives running in the background, and we don't ever stop to question them. They're coming from a part of our brain that's meant to keep us safe. It's very purposeful. So I'm not, here to demonize that part of our brain. Like, it's actually the part of our brain that keeps us alive. It keeps us breathing without having to think about breathing. But it also is very dramatic. It thinks that we are in a primitive state where we're always in danger. And so it offers us these very dramatic thoughts that we often react to without questioning. And it in turn creates a sabotage of our results. So understanding what those narratives sound like so that you can be more like aware of them when they show up, or you can be on the lookout for them, is really, really helpful. So we give a saboteur assessment so that you're familiar with what are the top saboteur narratives that most resonate with me, that I'm most often hearing. But I'll just, spoiler alert, the judge is the most universal. We all have that judgy narrative. We're either judging ourselves, or we're judging other people, or we're judging circumstances. So if you're somebody who wants to lose weight, you judge the circumstance by unintentionally thinking, when I finally lose the weight, then I'll be happy. Or when I finally achieve this role at work, I'll finally be successful. That's what it sounds like. That's the narrative inside your head that you're unintentionally listening to, that sounds like judging the circumstance. We all are probably very familiar with what it sounds like to judge ourselves. You shouldn't have, you should have. Um, and then judging others, we do that too. That's by design, right? But we do not want to react to it. We want to just respond. We want to notice that it's there so that we can question it. Is that even true? The one I love to give, that it like blows my mind how much I used to listen to this saboteur narrative. But I would, be on my weight loss journey, and I would walk through the kitchen and I would see a plate of cookies, and my saboteur narrative would say, you better eat those before they go away, before somebody else eats them, before somebody takes them away, right? That's so dramatic. Cookies are available anytime, anywhere. But I had this dramatic saboteur narrative that I would react to and eat them before I even took the next breath. And so it was so routine, so habitual, that I never even heard or recognized that narrative for what it was. It was coming from my primitive brain. It's very dramatic, and I was reacting to it. I never questioned it. So that's how you eliminate that self-sabotage. It's really through awareness. The second step, or the L of self, or excuse me, the third step, the L of self, is leveraging your strengths. So leveraging your strengths these are the strengths that are only available to you when you're operating from the other part of your brain, which I like to call your prodigy brain. So you've got this 3-pound organ that exists between your ears. If you were to cut it straight in half, the left side is your primitive brain, meant to keep you alive. The right side is your prodigy brain. Now, this is the more extraordinary part of your brain. It has the ability to respond instead of react. It has the ability to be intentional. It has the ability to be the watcher of those primitive brain thoughts that are going on. So when you are feeling an unwanted feeling like frustration, overwhelm, self-doubt, you know that you're operating from your primitive brain. And so we want to kind of bridge, we want to get to the prodigy brain. So you want to figure out, okay, how do I do that? And I like to tell people, find the mental fitness technique that works best for you. It could be meditation. It could be box breathing. It could be tapping. There's thousands of mental fitness techniques that turn down that primitive brain chatter, and it allows you to tap into the strengths that are only afforded to you by your prodigy brain. So those look like empathy, discovery, innovation. These are all the strengths that when you're tapped into them, it really changes the outcome of your day, week, months, life. empathy, discovery, innovation, navigating from your values, activating with clear, concise, confident action. That's what it looks like to be able to leverage those strengths. So we here at Self Made You, we're always reinforcing these 4 steps, but we're also helping you kind of refine the process within each of these steps, like really helping you masterfully like understand the techniques within each of these 4 steps. And then finally, that 4th step is forging lasting change, or finishing with a decision. What's next? What's the next best step? We don't have to know what the next best 10 steps are. We just need to know what's the next best step. And taking that step with a sense of confidence that the next step will reveal itself. We don't have to know what the journey looks like. We can be willing to feel all the feels, be reminded that we have the tools to be able to navigate any challenge, any circumstance, any curveball that life is going to throw you. You can go within, you can coach yourself through it. So that 4th and final step looks like best practices. There's best practices to anything: losing weight, climbing the corporate ladder. There's always best practices, but notice that that 4th and final step is 4th for a reason. You have to be in the right mindset to create sustainable change by taking those actions. So all of our programming gives you best steps, but we know the value, the real value is getting you to that 4th and final step, getting you in the right mindset, having you feel reliant on yourself, thinking of yourself as the solution and no longer the problem.
Do you ever have anyone that, begins the program and then it gets too, I guess, too true, too painful, that they have to actually look at something that they didn't really want to look at before? And so do you, in that situation, do you coach them through it, or do you tell them, maybe you need to take a break, or how do you handle that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, I think there's different degrees
Right.
of kind of trauma, I think is
Yeah.
probably what you're
Right.
asking. And, there is trauma that can be navigated through therapy. And I know this because my sister is a clinical
Oh, okay.
psychologist. And
Yeah.
so I'm a life coach. She's a clinical psychologist. And so we have this ever going, ongoing debate of, who offers the most productive
Right.
services. And honestly, I don't think you can answer
Yeah.
that. I think we're in tandem with one
Right.
another. So I would say people who are um, suffering from trauma that really gets in the way of them living their day. It gets in the way of them being able to get through a day.
Right.
They will probably be best served from therapy.
Okay.
Certainly, coaching can come alongside of that, but I think a therapist or therapy should be in the
Right.
realm of tools that you're using. Um, People who are at baseline or above, then I think coaching is really good. And baseline just is, the measurement of you know, if you are able to get through your day or you're unable to get through your day,
Um,
if something is keeping you from being able to get through your day. So that's kind of the measurement, and it will really denote whether you should have a
yeah.
therapist or some sort of another mental health professional on board.
You're right.
But I will say, we have a lot of people that have um, events in their life that they've suppressed, that definitely it comes up and they are able to work through
Right.
that. Most of the saboteur narratives,
Yes.
there's
Yes.
there's 10 primary saboteur narratives. Most of them have come
Hmm.
from experiences in your life.
Right.
And so it's this narrative that has created this well-driven neural pathway in your brain. And so going back and being able to point to an event, sometimes it's really helpful to know that that's kind of the genesis of it. And you don't have to stay there very
Yeah.
long. Unwinding the past isn't always necessary, but having insight into where it stems from sometimes can be really
Oh, I
helpful.
love it. And your program just sounds amazing. I just
Thank you.
absolutely love it because it is so needed because there's so many people that just need some type of direction in their life and they know the answer, but it's like they just need some, like you said, coaching along. And it seems like it's such
Yeah.
a precise program. You do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, so they know what they're getting
Yep.
into, which is marvelous, instead of going,
Yep.
"What do we do now?" So I think it's
Right.
absolutely fantastic. Is there anything that
Thank
you
you.
wanna talk about that we did not talk about at this point?
Well, for any listener who's just saying, okay, all I have to do is remember self, SELF. But where do I start? How do I even get started? I would say look at your calendar, whether it's digital or it's on paper, and find the white space. Find 10 minutes that is not committed to anyone or any other thing, and commit to using that 10 minutes to understanding how it is that you're feeling in that moment. Okay, so what I do is I look at my calendar. I'm like, oh, okay, I've got 3 to 3:30 open. So I book that half an hour for myself. I then set my alarm on my phone because I will find all sorts of other things to do if the alarm isn't going off.
Right.
And then when the alarm goes off, I ask myself, how am I feeling right now? And a lot of people can't come up with that one word, you know, um, illustration, that one emotion, because our vocabulary is so
Right.
small when it comes to emotions. So Google feelings wheel, and up will come thousands of emotions that you can choose from.
Yeah.
So find the one emotion that most resonates with you, that is descriptive of what it is that you're feeling right now. Okay. So let's say it's irritated. That's the emotion. That's what you're feeling at 3 o'clock today when you set your alarm. Okay. Now you ask yourself why, because I want you to connect the dots from what it is that you are thinking or believing to the feeling that you're experiencing. It's the most powerful connection you'll ever make, because what you will deduct from that is, okay, well, when I'm thinking unintentionally that I don't matter because he came home
Oh,
late and I'm feeling irritated, I will now conclude that if I think intentionally, or I decide intentionally how I want to feel, you can start on either end. I could decide, actually, I want to feel unconditional love for him. Okay, then what is it that I have to believe? Because you will never feel anything without thinking something first. Your feelings always are derived from a thought or a belief.
oh,
So
wow.
discerning what it is that you're thinking and how that's connected to your feelings is so
Yeah.
powerful. So, and it takes a matter of minutes. So carve out that time each day to figure out how it is that you're feeling and why. It's the best way to start your day because it puts you in control. You said at the beginning, self-made you teaches people how to create self-control. That's how. Right there is that you recognize that your thoughts create your feelings, and they're either happening unintentionally or they're happening intentionally. It's a choice.
Right. Wow. I love it. I love it. So, if you had to give an inspiration, like you were saying that if you have a tough day, those people that don't wanna get out of bed, what inspiration statement could you tell them?
This is a good one. So, empathy is one of those strengths that you can tap into when you're operating from your prodigy brain. And so, you got to figure out how to bridge the gap. How do you even knock on the door of your prodigy brain? I would say, you're laying in bed and you have a belief, I can't get out of bed, or today's not worth getting out of bed. That's keeping you in bed. I would tell you to do some deep breathing techniques. Do a box breathing technique where you're literally breathing in, holding it, breathing out, holding it, breathing in, holding it, breathing out, holding it. So do that for 2 minutes so that you quiet that mind chatter that's going on, that's telling you those saboteur narratives that are telling you it's not worth getting out of bed today, right?
Right.
You've quieted that down. Now ask yourself, like, how is this experience that I'm having right now, not being able to get out of bed, doing the deep breathing technique, how is this very moment a gift and an opportunity? And challenge yourself to come up with an answer. If I had to answer that question, how would I answer it? That's going to create empathy and discovery, right? It's a step in the right direction. It's quieted down that saboteur narrative that's keeping you stuck in bed, and it's turning up the volume of your prodigy brain. I love asking myself, what's the most loving and compassionate thing I can tell myself right now? It's a great question that you can pull out of your back pocket at any minute of any day. And it has you operating from your prodigy brain. So, best piece of
I
advice right
love
there.
it. I love it. Are you ready for the last question?
I am.
Okay. All right. So let's bring on the wheel. All right. So let's see. You never know what you'll be answering next. It's out of my control right here. Oh, favorite. I love it. I don't think I've had anyone answer this question. So, what was your favorite childhood toy?
Do you remember those wiener dog?
Oh,
Like you could pull, it was a pull toy and they'd like kind of run alongside of you. I loved that toy. It was obviously my own built-in,
yeah.
companion.
Right.
And
Right.
today I have two real life wiener dogs. Meatball and Miko are my two real life wiener dogs, so I don't need to have the toy anymore.
Yeah.
But as I went, when I was little, I remember that
Now,
toy and
did,
I
did
loved
you
it.
have a wiener dog when you were younger? A
I
Dalmatian?
did not.
No. So you were really
Oh,
drawn to them.
yes, yes, they're so stinking cute. How could you not be drawn to them? They're just like so extra. They're extra everything, extra in attitude,
That's
extra in
yeah,
length.
that's true. And then their little legs, go really fast.
Yes,
To
yes.
try to keep up with you. Oh, I love it. I love it. And the toys just have really changed. So I appreciate you sharing, what your favorite toy was, because that really tells a lot about you as well. I feel like because your creative side there. And I do appreciate
Mhm.
also, I think it's awesome that this was inside you and you just because you could have held it inside and said, you know what, I'm not going to take that faith, and you did, and what a difference you were making, because I absolutely
Mhm.
love this program. So Tracy, where can everybody find you?
www.self, S-E-L-F, dash made, M-A-D-E, and then the letter U.com. That is our website that offers all sorts of free resources. We offer free coaching Friday almost every single week. And on the off weeks, we offer a free masterclass. So all of our free live resources happen on Friday. And so you can find
Oh
the
yeah, what
calendar
is that?
on our website. You can be directed to all of our social media channels through that, and also download a lot of our guides. So, yeah, that's the best kind of one stop
Yeah.
shop.
And everybody remember that what Tracy was just saying, that the solution is in you. You are the one to find that empowerment. And once you find that empowerment, it's amazing what you can do. So I hope to see you next week. And I hope that this inspired you. And again, find that empowerment. Thank you, Tracy, so much. Once again, thank you.